Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
Good morning and welcome to the November 1st meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Madam Clerk. Oh, I forgot. I'm looking at it. My thought for the day. It's on my calendar. It's a good one. This guy's riding his bike. It's attributed to Horace Mann, and it says, "Habits are like a cable. We weave a strand every day, and soon it cannot be broken." Now, Madam Clerk.
Okay, under resolutions, I need a motion to approve the Job and Family Services bills for payment.
So moved. Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
There are no investments this morning. Appropriations.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Yes. Betty, I think you had a question on one, didn't you?
I believe the questions have been answered, and I didn't get back to the topic.
Okay.
Well, then we got questions on two then.
I've got one on the Christmas decorations for $14,120.
Mm-hmm.
Was there an RFP for this from other companies? Yvonne?
With those Christmas decorations, we didn't do an RFP. We checked with our local vendors, and then we went outside. A lot of our local vendors cannot do commercial things. They have to go to a third party. And we got calls back to say that they couldn't. The lady from Amherst was the only one that could do those decorations. And so we're under the $15,000 mark.
Well, that just seemed like an awfully lot to me, too, $14,000 for decorations.
We have those wreaths that's going on the building. They're like 16 feet, I believe.
The wreaths that we are purchasing for the building are 14 feet by 14 feet. There's two of them for the front of the building, and there's a very large light tree to go on the portico out in front of the building. Each one of those wreaths were discounted, I want to say 40% from their original price for us as we purchased. There is also a very, very large and long garland to grace the balcony on the courthouse, along with some lighting over there that'll go on the front, that'll face the lawn of downtown Elyria Square as part of their lighting group there. These are very large items, Commissioner.
Commissioner Moore, you had a question?
I had a question on, was that number 7 on the appropriations? Did you write down? I wrote on a sticky note. I'm trying
No, that was page 6.
Number 7, I think. How about number 8 regarding the license letters that were going out? I had nobody sign that, and that's why I thought no one signed that appropriation, so I was...
The appropriation or the purchase order, sir?
There are two, and the purchase order was signed, but the appropriation was the question, I believe. That was the first document that we all saw.
Since the question was answered, was there paying 50-50? Is that how we're doing it, or?
Well, not completely. I guess for the sake of members of the audience here, the issue deals with a transfer of funds to do a mailing for the dog licenses. We've had a program where we've done mailings of the licenses out to previous dog owners that are registered with us, reminding them to renew their licenses. That cost approximately $10,000 a year, and I've been working in conjunction with the auditor's office to gain some partnership on the design and content of that mailer, since the commissioners are the ones that are paying for it. In the past, we haven't had any input into that process except to pay for it. We're not able to partner with the auditors on the content this year because we're so late in the year that it needs to go to the printer. I've been assured in some written correspondence from Mr. Stewart that we will partner next year on the development of the design and content of that mailer so that everybody can be satisfied. I also had some discussion with Mr. Snodgrass earlier this week wherein we discussed some funds that were available in their dog and kennel supply account that's under the auditor. It's my understanding now that they will be shipping back about $4,000 to us to offset the cost of this mailer. We've had our differences in the past, but they've never misled me. I'm quite sure that they'll do that. We'll be gathering those funds later in the year. But right now, we need to go to the printer on this flyer to get it out.
Didn't you ask them 2 months ago to partner?
At least.
Okay, so it's not our end, the reason why it now has to be rushed, correct?
That's accurate, sir.
And you got a commitment from the auditor verbally that we'll be co-partnering this letter for next year, right?
I have it in writing, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Can we go back to these Christmas decorations for 1 minute here? Where are we going to put these? If they're such huge wreaths, where are you going to store them?
Can we leave them up all year? No. I do. It's easier every Christmas. I'm kidding, Jim. Go ahead.
I was just waiting for it, the fervor to die down, all the applause.
Okay. I know.
And the laughter.
And the laughter.
I'm on a roll today.
J.C. Penney building, we plan on storing them down there, along with merchandise and equipment that we've been storing down there already. So we're using the back end of that building. That's where we plan on storing them.
And what kind of tree you're putting it where? On the outside?
It's a light tree. It's not a tree. It's a Yvonne, can you better explain this on this?
Do we have photographs of this or something?
It came up with, when the PO came up, it came up with complete photographs, glossies, and everything came up with the purchase order.
I didn't see that. I might have
Well,
missed it.
that was last week.
Oh, no,
May
it
have been the
wasn't.
week before last.
No, it was last week.
Okay.
I must have missed it, too.
But I can have Ms. Newton bring all that stuff up to you again and take a look at it. Okay?
Would you be willing to hold this until we take a better look at it? I guess Commissioner Moore didn't see it either.
I didn't see it, but I just wanted to see it. But I don't need to, we don't need to wait, do we?
I have no idea what it is that we're getting here for $14,000.
Is it a fake tree on the side of the building? Is that what you're talking about?
No. The reefs are artificial.
All right.
They're lighted. They're very large. We've made arrangements with the county engineer to come out with the bucket truck, so we don't incur any cost there to work with us to put them on the building and take them off the building. The maintenance guys are going to be doing the rest of the installation. When I say lighted tree, it's a metal rack with lights on it that gives a shape, it gives it form. You see those forms
Yeah.
that you buy. This one goes on out front on the portico, the overhang in front of the building. It'll sit up there, and then there'll be a reef out there.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be nothing on the ground on the side of the building from this purchase order. And Yvonne can bring you up the information you need. Yvonne, have you ordered those already?
We placed the order because it's going to take about 6 weeks to get them. Because I think last week it was approved. And when the account number that we used, we couldn't use it through the auditor's office.
Okay.
They would not let us use it, but the requisition was approved last week. The account that we were going to use did not have the money in it, so we had to use another account to take it out of. She told us it was going to take at least 6 weeks, and we're going through November. We're trying to get them the week of Thanksgiving, so it don't take so long.
Okay.
After Christmas, we would need them. We never had decorations on the administration building or the courthouse at all.
And this stuff will last at least 10 years, right?
Right. They used to decorate these buildings. In fact, there's some old decorations still laying in some secluded areas of the courthouse. They're beyond being of good use now, but they used to.
Okay.
So, We have had questions and we have answers, and we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye, with the exception of the decorations.
Okay. Transfers?
So move, or second, whichever. Have your choice.
I'll let you pick. I'll second.
Okay.
Any discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
There are no advances this morning. Requisitions?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye, with several exceptions. 2181, 2182, 2191. That's not really an exception there, but the next ones might be. I've got some questions. These are TANF and other grants that money's going back to the state.
Well, I believe that's just the conclusion of that grant cycle with the residuals.
It says return of unused PRC grant funds, and then return of unused grant funds, return of unused TANF grant funds.
Well, I need to stand, I guess.
Oh, you need to come to the microphone, Mary Lou. Good morning.
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 This is on a form that Tom Manitek would have sent over. I'm not real clear on what you're talking about.
Well, I'm going according to the requisitions, and there's just several things on here that states return of unused funds, and it's quite a bit of money.
Sure.
First, just for clarification, it says the department is the Children and Family First Council, I believe.
Right.
Well, somebody.
I'll give it a try here.
Go ahead.
Okay, somebody help me.
Those are residual amounts that need to be returned. Some of them are not unused funds. I believe one of them was for $57,000 or $50,000.
One's $50,592, and it's Lorain County Human Services. So now who is the Human Service coming under?
Well, but see, that money is being paid back. They're actually, it says vendor, but they're receiving the funds back to their agency. Now, what happens here is at the end of a grant cycle, the grants get audited. The larger one here that's probably the most concerning had to do with the summer camp program that we ran this during the summer camp. Great. What happened was we got billed for utilizing of services that were found to be not eligible for those services. So we had to, we couldn't pay for that. And when we got done reconciling the bills and when the utilizers were audited for eligibility, we were not able to disperse $50,592,000 worth of funds because of ineligibility of some of the people we were billed for. That money, therefore, needs to be returned to Job and Family Services, who will then return it to the state. That's
Technically, Children and Family First money that was unspent.
right. Okay. So it wasn't that it really was unspent. If the eligibility had been there, my understanding, if everybody was eligible that was submitted for, we would have spent down.
We
to
would have
nothing.
used it, correct.
Actually, I got to compliment Mr. Crespo in this. He got a little nervous about the eligibility of some of the things that were being submitted to us, and he did hold back some money. If he didn't, we would have had to go back to these vendors and try to recoup this money to pay it back. So it wasn't any fault of our employees, but it was the end users who submitted non-eligible children for this program for reimbursement.
And the paperwork is a nightmare.
Yes, it is.
No, just a little editorial comment.
I've learned more than I've ever wanted to know.
Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
That
then?
answers my question. Thanks, Mary Lou.
Thank you. Okay. So you're accepting...
I'll
Or you're
accept
not?
that, yes. But then there's some others over there, professional service, Clemens and Nelson's again for the union. I'm taking it this is for union negotiations, and I've insisted for several years our people do this in-house and save this money, and here we are back again, and there's a lot of them on here. So I'm making exception to those, and it's 21, 66, 67, 68, 68. Again, there was two 68s.
Which is an error.
Yeah, probably.
It should be 2169.
Probably. And 70 and 71.
Okay.
That's it.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye, with no exceptions.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye, with the exceptions of the professional services.
Okay. Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Okay. Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Approving bills for payment.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
And to authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez, are we going to have an executive session?
It's my understanding that the prosecutor will be asking for an executive session for potential litigation. At this time, I would suggest that we hold the personnel sheet. There is some new hires on it, and just in case the board wants to have a brief discussion on that while we're in the back room.
Okay, we'll hold item number 9.
Okay. I'd like to award the following contracts for the Lorain County Correctional Facility Systems and Equipment Alterations for the general trade contract to Williams Brothers Builders Incorporated of Elyria, Ohio, in the amount of $317,950. For the mechanical plumbing contract to T.H. Martin Duct Systems Incorporated from Cleveland, Ohio, for $514,000. The electrical contract to South Shore Electric Incorporated of Elyria, Ohio, for $124,700. And for the electronic security system contract to Integrator.com of Noblesville, Indiana, for $487,800. The above contracts are the lowest and most responsive bids received, complying with specifications, and RWL Architects have reviewed and recommends approval.
I will so move.
A second.
Discussion?
Mr. Cortez,
Yes.
would you like to elaborate?
This is an ongoing renovation project at the jail. Mr. Rokas and I had a discussion this morning. The funding is available. As you know, we've been going through the jail, and I should say the sheriff's staff has been. We've been assisting them, but they're mainly doing the grunt work, getting all these renovations done to the old section of the jail. Hopefully, we'll be done with that. We'll be done with that pretty soon. I don't really have a lot more to add on this, Commissioner. It's just pretty pre-functionary that we're finishing up on the renovation.
I also think it's pretty needed. I heard that they had some problems with some of the locks the other day, so that they had to book in a different area, so it's high time we do this.
Yes.
Other questions?
No, I was just concerned that there was enough money in the levy fund to do this, but you did check it?
Well, yeah, you know, interestingly enough, there's and John could probably speak better to this, there's money set aside for this renovation, and it's adequate, but I don't want to mislead you. We've had that discussion on the that the income from the jail tax levy has eclipsed, or at least our expenses have eclipsed the ability of that jail tax levy to fully support the jail operation. We had discussion earlier this year on that. We're going to have to budget additional monies from the general fund to the jail next year. It could be anywhere from $1 to $2 million. Does that sound correct to you, John?
That's correct.
So I don't want to mislead you on that and then come back next year and say, well, why did we pay for all this renovation? The money has been set aside for this renovation, but that's not going to alleviate the issue we're going to have to deal with the lack of the jail tax fully and completely supporting the jail operation.
Further questions?
Nope, that's it.
Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court Juvenile Division to file a grant application for the 4th round of funding from the Office of Criminal Justice Services for the Merit Project in the amount of $104,475. Local match of funds in the sum of $11,609 from the County General Fund for a grant total of $116,084. I'd like to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
No, second?
In discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize the firm of Susan Good and Mayer of Cincinnati, Ohio as underwriters for the refinancing of existing notes It's $5,204,000, maturing December 15, 2001. The proposal by Season Good for this issue is outlined in their letter of October 18, 2001 to Jim Cordez, County Administrator. Approval of this resolution is limited to transaction of the $5,204,000 issue only and related fees therein.
Also move.
Support.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd authorize extending Williams Brothers Builders a completion date for the county engineer's maintenance garage project from October 26, 2001 to November 16, 2001. Williams Brothers Builders, Inc. is requesting additional time at no cost change to eliminate a single door and replace it with a pair of doors requested by the county engineer's office. This will require an additional 14 working days to complete. The architect is also in agreement with this request.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
As we've turned the page, I have about 10:30 on my watch, and at 10:30 we had a continued public hearing on the proposed annexation of approximately 7.64 acres in Carlisle Township to the city of Elyria. Attorney Garrett Murray is acting on behalf of Robert Yost as the agent, and I see that Attorney Murray is present. So if you would like to come forward, and Mr. Yost is also here. And Mr. Schrader has arrived. Good morning. Good morning. Yes.
Good morning.
Do we need to swear anybody in, Mr. Anderson?
Are we going to be taking any further evidence?
No?
No.
Mr. Schrader?
I thought we were here to see if they decided which of the three routes they were going to put that pipe in.
Right.
So that's something they need to present, and
Yeah.
can't anticipate much evidence on our end.
Okay.
No,
Okay, thank you. Mr. Murray, proceed, please.
Yeah, we're not going to induce any other testimony. My name is Garrett Murray. My address is 120 East Avenue, Elyria. And as you know, I represent Robert Yost, who's agent for the Robert Yost Trust. We were here on October the 11th, and the question was raised at that time regarding a letter that we had presented, which was signed by Stephen and Julie Thompson, dated October the 9th, that they were willing to, or not opposed to granting an easement. Since that time, my client has met with the Thompsons, and they have entered into an easement agreement. And if I may, I'd like to approach the bench and give you copies of the easement.
Thank you. Jerry? Did that conclude your comments? I thought you were going to briefly tell us what it contained. I'm sorry.
Well, I may. I see that one of the commissioners is reading it. It indicates that that whereas the grantee, Mr. Yost, the owner of 7.64 acres situated in Carlisle Township, which he intends to develop into a residential subdivision, and whereas the grantors, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, they live on Songbird Street, which adjoins my client's property on the north. And it says that whereas there's a sanitary sewer that runs along Songbird Street, and whereas the grantee desires a sanitary sewer easement across grantor's sublot, and grantors agree to grant him an easement from the northerly line of grantor's parcel to the 7.64 acre parcel. then indicates that they agree to give, grant, bargain, and convey to him a permanent easement commencing at the northerly property line, 10 feet from and parallel to the westerly property line, expanding to 20 feet and parallel to the westerly property line. And the 20 feet commences at the southwesterly corner of the house and goes to the northerly boundary line of my client's property. It's for the purpose of boring, operating, maintaining, removing, repairing, and replacing an 8-inch drain tile line at grantee's cost through the grantor's premises to carry the effluent from a sanitary sewer system in his development to the sewer on Songbird Street. This is at my client's expense, and immediately after installation, he will restore the premises to its previous condition. The agreement is conditioned upon the annexation of the grantee's premises into the city of Elyria, and the parties will execute a formal easement which will be filed at the Lorain County Recorder's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Does that conclude your
Yes, it does.
comments? Mr. Schrader, do you have comments for the board?
Just very briefly, the trustees do oppose this annexation. We've listed all the reasons in previous hearings that we oppose the annexation, and we continue to oppose the annexation. I know today's November 1. I know that because it's my birthday. Yesterday was October 31st, and that's the date that this agreement to enter into an easement was signed. This, however, is not an easement, and in fact it says in it, this is conditioned on the annexation, and they agree to enter into a formal easement sometime later. It may be of some value taking off on Assistant Prosecutor Jerry Ennis's, I'm sorry, Jerry, I've known you for years, and I don't know how that happened. You know, he had mentioned we've had unfortunate situations in the past where we've allowed things to happen based on an if-come. You know, we'll enter into a formal easement later, which is what this says, and then maybe something happens, it doesn't occur, and all of a sudden we got a problem. This is to be an 8-inch sewer drain, so it's probably not going to be able to have a capacity to handle a whole lot. And with all respect, I would ask that you hold off until there is a formal easement granted. I know that's kind of circular because this is conditioned on the annexation. That's the only comment I have about this easement agreement. I think we probably gave closing arguments last time. I don't see much point in repeating them. Again, the trustees would ask you to deny this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schrader. Mr. Ennis, do you have comments for the board? Oh, I'm sorry, Garrett. Excuse me.
Just like to respond. You'll notice that there is an Exhibit A to the agreement which indicates where the easement is, and it shows a portion of my client's proposed parcel 6. The formal easement needs legal descriptions. There would have to be a survey done of the sanitary easement and also of the parcel in the back, which is shown on Exhibit A.
Thank you. Mr. Ennis?
I don't have any other general comments to make at this point unless the commissioners have specific questions.
Are you comfortable with this agreement? Because remember the last meeting you said that...
You know, what I had addressed last time is that there were no agreements or there was just kind of hearsay comments or so forth. I appreciate Mr. Schrader's comments now, but nevertheless, there is a written agreement. I mean, there's one thing to just be going on a rumor and we're going to do this. As we know from September 11th, anything could happen to mess up an agreement. There's a limit to what you can expect somebody to bring forward. And I think this is all that can be expected at this point in time.
Thank you. Mr. Murray, by this easement then, am I to understand that the only sewer service that will be extended is to this development?
That is correct.
And that the pipes will be sized accordingly?
8 inches is enough to carry the residential development.
But it will only, again, only be for this development?
That's correct.
I think that's what they were saying. That's the only size it could handle it.
Okay. And then, the last meeting, I did ask the question in the past, when annexations by this particular developer had come forward, that they had given consideration to the loss of property to Carlisle Township and had offered some consideration for that. Has there been any further thought given to that question?
Madam President, at one time we had mentioned that, Mr. Schrader, but nothing further came of that.
At the last meeting on October the 11th, the clerk had noted that the 90-day window for approval and or denial of this petition would be November 14th. The last board meeting day prior to that in which we could take action would be November 8th. That's next Thursday. However, this board is not meeting next Thursday because we will have a lack of a quorum. And this calculation is based on the first hearing having been held on August 16th. What is the pleasure of the board regarding this matter? It's incumbent upon us to make a determination, I believe, about the territory sought to be annexed, the benefit to the territory sought to be annexed. We are operating under the existing annexation laws, and Jerry, do you want to help the board formulate what determinations we need to make? There are 3 areas that we can look at.
Of course, the initial question are to make sure that all the procedural issues have been complied with, and I don't recall there being any question with regard to those things. One of the issues that you look to is whether the area is unreasonably large. And as Mr. Murray has indicated several times in his presentations, the overriding factor that you consider is what is for the general good of the territory to be annexed. So your analysis must be focused upon is this for the good of the property that is seeking to be annexed at this particular time, and that's...
Jerry, Elizabeth can't hear you.
I'm sorry. So the overall consideration that you have to make is this for the general good of the property to be annexed, and if you decide that it is, then the annexation is, you need to make a finding of that. To deny the annexation, you have to make a specific finding that it is not for the general good or that it is unreasonably large.
Thank you, Mr. Ennis.
The reason for the annexation was because of the sewer, correct? Jerry, I have a question. Last week I wasn't here, and I know that they had the hearing, and I missed a lot of it. So...
Well, the issue, in particular with regard to that easement, was that when we were last at a hearing, there was no specific access to this property for laying that sewer, and I had brought up that we had run into similar problems in another area in Carlisle Township, so I raised the issue that one of the factors that the commissioners should consider is in fact the ability to provide the sewer services there without this easement, and that precipitated this move to come up with a written agreement to document that. So although Mr. Schrader still questions that this easement is definitive proof of it, that's a question of weight, and I've indicated that you have a written agreement now before you indicating that access will be provided. So that's a factor to be considered, in deciding whether they have the sewer access. And again, as you mentioned, the provision of sewers is one of the primary reasons for going forward with this.
And the city is not in agreement to allow them to tie into that sewer, even though it's right there.
That's correct.
Some people out there asked me to go see this property because they were concerned that it's creating a peninsula. And I walked around there, and I guess it is kind of bottled right in there, right in the middle of a township. What about the service, safety services? Where is that going to be coming from? And will they have any problems with the city getting to that area, being it's surrounded with township?
We had indicated at one of the prior hearings on October 11th that there are two parcels between my client's property on East River Road and the city corporate line, which is also on East River Road and on the corner of East River Road and Sandpiper. We indicated that, that those two parcels are between my client's property and the city corporate line. We indicated that they are not an island, and I think when you were here at the first meeting, you raised that question.
Right.
It is a peninsula. Also, I pointed out at the last October 11th meeting that if you proceed down East River, there are a couple areas of peninsulas. One area is from Sandpiper to Aspen Court. There is that is a peninsula, and that's on East River Road. And then if you go from Aspen Court further down, there also is another area of a peninsula. It does not seem that there's any problem along East River of servicing the areas that are in Carlisle Township and the city of Elyria. We had, at the October 11th meeting, we had a testimony from the Assistant Fire Chief and also from the Safety Service Director of Elyria as to the services that will be provided. And the services are sanitary sewer services, police, fire, and garbage collection. And the area to the north, we had an aerial photo. I don't know if you have that, Mrs. Vasey, in front of you, but that was a clear indication of how this parcel fits into the neighborhood. And if you don't have that in front of you, and if you'd like to look at that, I could bring one up.
No, I have what you just gave us. But then even the streets, who's going to clean that? Who's going to clean that road?
East River?
New one.
What's the new one going in there?
It'll
What
be
is
a
that?
public-
The city of
it'll be
Elyria
city
would
street
clean
if it's
that road.
annexed. The city will take care of it.
They'll take care of this?
It'll be dedicated to public use, is that correct?
Correct. Just as my client lives on Aspen Court, and Aspen Court is off of East River. Aspen Court is in Carlisle Township, and Carlisle cleans Aspen Court. So there are some peninsulas along there, and they don't seem to want for services. The primary purpose of my client asking for annexation is the same reason many other annexations have come before you, and that is that he's requesting to be able to tie into the sanitary sewer in Elyria. And he can now tie into it by the easement into the sewer on Songbird. Regarding the agreement made between the Thompsons and my client, it is a binding and legal agreement. And it is enforceable.
Mr. Schrader?
Because we commit mistakes in the past doesn't mean we're doomed to keep committing them in the future. Now, if there were peninsulas created before, that doesn't mean we got to keep making that same mistake. At the last hearing, and I assume the reporters probably typed it up or you could hear the tape, but Captain Jim Drozdowski, I knew I'd kill that name. Captain Jim Drozdowski of the Sheriff's Department explained to you what great services the Sheriff's Department offers out there, and the township does offer excellent services. One thing I did last night, because it's easier for me to see if I color things, is to try to understand what this peninsula would look like. So what I did, and this isn't an extra, you've got this is their annexation map, and I attempted to color it a little bit. And I remember from my first grade report card, the nun wrote down, "Ms. Alfred frequently does not stay within the lines," which turned out to be kind of a prediction of my life, I think. But I didn't on this one either, but I think it gives you the idea, and if I can approach and show it to you. The yellow is the city, the blue is the rest of the township, and the green is the peninsula they're talking about annexing. And I think that gives you a better idea of just how goofy this looks, and it's not exactly what I think the Supreme Court means by unity of city boundary lines in that Middleton versus McGee case. If it's okay, I'm just going to walk up there and let you look at this. Again, it's nothing new. We've just colored in what's been presented by Garrett Murray. And since this is our third hearing, I'm hoping this is the last I need to say about the matter. But thanks.
Anybody else start to put on his car? I think the nun was right.
Well, I think he did a pretty nice job.
My first grade teacher wouldn't think so. Thank you.
You could put a star right here for him.
Sure, why not?
Madam President,
Yes, Mr. Murray.
I don't have any coloring with me today,
Do you want some crayons? We have crayons.
but I would like to come up and particularly show Mrs. Vacy the aerial photo that we submitted into evidence. This aerial photo indicates this is the area that is being annexed.
Right.
This is East River. As far as being part of the community, you can see to the north there is all residential development. My client will be a 14-parcel residential development. There are 2 parcels here, about 1 acre, and maybe this is 1.5 acre. Here is the city of Elyria corporate line. So we can join the corporate line on the northerly parcel, and then we're about 450 feet from the corner. Here is the corporate line of Elyria. It proceeds down here. Here is that first peninsula that I mentioned before, and that extends from here down to Aspen Court, and then after Aspen Court, there is another peninsula further down this way.
The other week I drove around in here and came up here and looked at all this.
And this is all
There's not,
residential.
yeah, there's not too many homes in here on this side.
Well, this is these lots. You see, this is Dewhurst,
Yeah.
and the lots extend back. You can see these people have long, very deep lots. So we can actually extend back to my client's property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Further questions from the board?
I think Jerry wants to jump in.
Mr. Ennis?
I would just indicate to the commissioners, the statute itself does not specifically say the creation of peninsulas or islands, for that matter, is prohibited. There is case law that has discussed this in terms of it shall be discouraged, that type of thing, but there isn't any clear-cut statute or anything that says that it's prohibited. In the cases I've studied, I cannot recall, most of the time when you get into this, it's like an additional element. There'll be a declaration that we're denying this annexation, and in addition, besides that, it creates a peninsula, and it's kind of a throw-in issue. I don't recall cases where annexations have been disapproved simply on the basis that something creates a peninsula or island, unless it's it's one of those really bizarre ones where they take something out. So once again, it's one of those clear as mud situations. But one of the problems that I've always had with peninsulas is it creates this exact problem that we were talking about at other meetings. You get these outgrowths where in order to connect your sewers, you have to go through one jurisdiction to the other, and it creates a problem for the cities because they then have to get approval of the other jurisdictions to connect their sewers. So, but again, they've addressed it with this easement in this particular scenario that we have here. I don't know if that helps you at all, but
Is the board prepared to make a decision today?
It's a tough one, but then they all are when it comes to annexations.
Go ahead. How do we do this? You're asking me to take the lead on this?
I'm certainly not going to.
Oh, boy. Well, this could be like my first motion, though, for annexation, couldn't it?
This is your baptism
This is my
by
baptism?
fire.
Oh, boy. You guys are just having fun with me today.
When it comes to annexations, you really don't have much choice. It's usually 4 sewers, that's the reason, and your only consideration is the property to be annexed. So what choice do you really have? The new laws that were in place, there was going to be 5 different annexations. The petition, they had enough signatures on it. I guess they'll find out if those signatures are valid. And if they are, the people will vote on the new annexation laws in the year 2002, November of 2002. But right now, we are stuck with the laws that we have on it. And that the only law that there is right now is what's good for that property to be annexed, the territory to be annexed. And if they need sewers, I guess that's where we're at. They're going to get their sewers that way. But it doesn't say anything about those neighbors and how it affects them. And that's the sad part of it. But we don't have a choice.
Did you make that in the form of a motion?
I will move to annex the property.
For the general,
Breaks my heart, but
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Ennis, is that
Is that appropriate?
worded sufficient?
upon the finding that it's for the general good of the property to be annexed.
All right.
for the general good of the property to be annexed.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
It breaks my heart twice, aye.
Do you want this back?
Ladies and gentlemen. We'll revert back to item number 14 on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
Okay, resolution proposing to cooperate with the Director of Transportation to rehabilitate and widen Colorado Avenue, that's State Route 611, from Henderson Drive, beginning at the intersection of Kansas Avenue and continuing easterly to the City of Lorain, Village of Sheffield Corporation line. The project shall include widening the pavement to 3 lanes, including curb and gutter, pavement markings, drainage, and miscellaneous construction items. Length of the improvement will be approximately 1.28 miles within the City of Lorain. Lorain County will assume responsibility as the lead agency for this project. We agreed to assume and bear 100% of the total cost for preliminary engineering, environmental studies, as well as any added construction items requested by the county and not necessary for the improvement as determined by the state and federal highway administration. Lorain County will assume and bear 100% of the administrative costs required to acquire the necessary right-of-way for this project. ODOT agrees to assume and bear 100% of the cost for the real property for the necessary right-of-way for the project and bear the non-federal share of the cost of construction. The federal share of construction cost will be funded by NOACA attributable funds. The county agrees that all right-of-way required will be acquired in accordance with state and federal regulations and include eligible utility costs. I'd like to authorize the expenditure of up to $138,545 from the Highway Bond Fund for the purchase of this right-of-way for the project. Funds will be reimbursed by ODOT, and we also need to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
Mr. Cortez, do you want to just have a few comments other than what's already appeared on the agenda?
No, but I believe, and thank you for the opportunity, but I believe Mr. Hamilton's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see John. John Hamilton, Deputy Lorain County
And
Engineer.
I would much rather defer to him.
Good morning, John.
Yeah, this project's we've been working on it for a long time, and the way we've been handling it, we've been hiring the engineering, and then the City of Lorain's been reimbursing us. And when it came time to do the real estate agreement, ODOT said that the original legislation making the City of Lorain lead agent should be changed to make us lead agents, since we're handling the consulting, the acquisition, and the right-of-way purchase. So that's the reason for the legislation, and the real estate agreement needs to be done so they can start purchasing the property. ODOT's paying for the right-of-way, City of Lorain's paying for the engineering, 80% funding for construction from NOACA, the other 20 from ODOT. So they're on schedule to finish the right-of-way by January of 2002, and then the sale would be late spring or summer of next year for construction.
And this is an integral part of what we're doing with the 611 project too, further down the road, right?
Yeah,
So
this would be the other end of it. Yeah.
These are all linked together. This is just a precursor to finishing up the other portion, right?
Right.
John, what does this mean over here? The county will assume and bear 100% of the administrative costs required to acquire the necessary right-of-way?
Several months ago, we hired Katie McCartney to do the appraisal work, title work, negotiations. And at the same time, we have a side agreement with Lorain where they reimburse us for that.
Oh, is this what they're reimbursing? Should this state in here that that we will be reimbursed by the City of Lorain? I don't...
That was why ODOT wanted us to be the lead agent. They said they didn't care what our agreement was with the City of Lorain. We were handling the consulting services and the real estate acquisition as far as they were concerned. So we have a side agreement with Lorain that they reimburse us, but with this, as far as ODOT's concerned, we're doing the right-of-way acquisition.
Commissioner Vacy, this is our arrangement with ODOT. So they need that language in there with ODOT. But it is my understanding that you do have a separate and distinct agreement with the City of Lorain to reimburse the engineer. So that has been accomplished.
But I'm just thinking that that should be in our resolution. It should be stated in here so that we are assured that we will be reimbursed, and that they won't come back and say, well, your resolution doesn't say that you're going to be reimbursed, so we're not paying it.
We could modify this to add that, you know, the county engineer will be reimbursed for those costs as delineated in the side agreement previously negotiated between the parties. Would that be acceptable, John?
Previously agreed agreement with the City of Lorain. ODOT's not part of that.
Right, that would be separate. That would.
I understand that's separate,
Right.
but I'd just like to see in our resolution somehow, some way that states that we would be reimbursed.
Certainly, and I
Didn't
don't.
we already have a resolution on this, like 3 months or 4 months ago, talking about a three-way split on this?
Well, the three-way split was another portion of 611. This portion of the project lies within the City of Lorain. This is well underway, right? I mean, this is something that's been ongoing.
There's prior resolutions, prior ordinances from the City of Lorain agreeing to that.
Right.
And also agreeing to the reimbursement.
Right.
I'm not sure if there was ever was there a resolution agreeing to the reimbursement? I'm not sure on that sidebar with the city. I thought maybe that was something the engineer negotiated. I can't quite recall.
No, commissioners approved the agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it included the reimbursement clause.
Included reimbursement, a reimbursement schedule in the ordinance and in the resolution law.
Okay.
So, was my question answered?
Your question is answered. You are.
Don't we already have a resolution saying that we're going to be sharing the cost of the engineering cost?
That's accurate.
Okay. John, that sounds about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that agreement's okay. This is just strictly to make us lead agent as far as
Right.
ODOT's
So we need to pass a resolution, so, because ODOT could care less about what we're doing, they just want to make sure that we're the lead agent, because they know we're going to pay.
Right.
They don't want to be collecting from 2 or 3 other municipalities, correct? Is that about as simplistic as I can make it?
That's very clear.
Okay,
Okay.
I understand now.
Okay.
Now, do we want to put a state in here that we're going to get reimbursed?
I don't think
What can
so.
it hurt?
Well, no, I don't think, I think this is for ODOT, isn't it?
That's accurate. sir.
Yeah, so I don't think we want to muddy it up for ODOT. And we already got a resolution, we already passed resolution saying that we've already done the deal, so why muddy up something with ODOT? Is that what you're not in your head, John, so.
Do you think that'll muddy it up, John, if we put a state in here that we will be reimbursed?
The only thing is there's standard agreements that ODOT has already prepared. If we change something in there, I don't know what they'll say.
So this is a standard agreement?
Yeah, there's actually two pieces of legislation there. The one makes us lead agent, the other one explains the agreement on the real estate. That we do the acquisition, they pay for the property, and we write the checks, they reimburse us.
I just want to be reassured that Lorain can't come back and say, sorry, folks, because, I mean, this is happening quite a bit. And I just want to be reassured that somewhere, somehow, we've got it black and white.
Yeah, that was done before we authorized McCartney to do the acquisition.
John, you feel
service.
comfortable with it?
Or, as a suggestion, the board may want to consider having a separate resolution from this, not the content of this.
All right.
That would follow this resolution that may address this.
Okay.
But I believe I heard the deputy engineer say we already have a resolution that establishes that.
But that was
Yeah,
before we
we'll-
changed some things here. I just,
About what you might want to do is just put a note for the formal minutes that there is a separate resolution,
And identify the resolution.
just for the purpose of the minutes
Okay.
rather than as far
okay, I
as the
feel comfortable
resolution.
with that.
Okay?
Just so we have something.
Any other discussion? Also move for approval.
I'll second.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye. And John, that $138,000, that's going to be reimbursed by ODOT? Is that the money that's going to be reimbursed by ODOT?
Yeah, that's for the actual purchase of the property. So as we go through, I think we have 5 of the appraisals back already. As we go through and the offers are made, people accept them, the county will issue the check for the property. And then once they're all added up at the end, we'll be reimbursed by ODOT for it.
And that's coming out of the bond, the $2 million bond fund that was established
Right.
for this stuff.
Thank
All
you,
right,
John.
thanks, John.
Madam Clerk?
Okay, to approve and enter into a subdivider's agreement with Ed Gargus, developer, for Hillside Subdivision number 9 and 10 in Amherst Township, original Amherst Township Lot 57, consisting of sublot numbers 194 through 229 inclusive. Mr. Gargus has provided a certificate of liability insurance.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into the following purchase of service contracts with source of funding available through the Workforce Investment Act. The first one will be between the Board of Commissioners and the Boys and Girls Club of Lorain County in the amount of $91,849.79 to perform work readiness skills as described in Exhibit L for the period effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002. Services will be provided to youth between the ages of 14 and 21 who are found to be deficient in basic academic skills, those who have dropped out of school, been involved in the juvenile justice system, are homeless, pregnant, or parenting, and those who are deficient in occupational skills.
Mr. Ennis, can we move to approve all these items under one motion, or do they need to be separate?
You can do them all under one motion if you're confident they're all going to go.
Continue, please.
Second one was Lorain County Joint Vocational School to operate a cook food prepare program for the training of eligible community-based correctional facility residents. This program will prepare 10 19 to 21-year-old youth offenders by training them in food service occupations and help assist them with transition back into the community in a productive and positive way. Contract is in the sum of $45,290, effective November 1st, 2001, ending June 30th, 2002. Next item was Lorain County Joint Vocational School and the Lorain County Workforce Development Agency to perform follow-up placement for OST CDCF program participants. The JVS will determine individual success based on the WIA core measurement requirements in the amount of $7,295.25, effective November 1st, 2001, ending June 30th, 2002. With Lorain County Workforce Development Agency to create an office support technician program for the training of eligible WIA grant individuals. This program will prepare 12 19 to 21-year-old out-of-school youths for careers in administrative, secretarial, office field. Contract is in the amount of $65,446 for the period November 1st, 2001, ending June 30th, 2002. With Lorain County Workforce Development Agency and the Neighborhood House Association to provide academic enrichment skills, employability skills, on-the-job training work experience, and job placement to 30 out-of-school youth ages 19 to 21 in the amount of $156,919, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001, ending June 30th, 2002. And with Lorain County Workforce Development Agency and Lorain County Community College for the operation of the Bridges to Success program in the amount of $264,276, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001, ending June 30th, 2002.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Commissioner. A lot of these are housekeeping issues and contracts come before you since we've made the change over at the former ETA department. With that said, I'd like to defer to Mr. Ogle, who I asked to be here in case there was any questions on the contracts. Bill, you may want to go to the podium.
You get to come to the microphone. Good morning, Mr. Ogle.
These are contracts that we have entered into prior to this program year, which began July 1. These are ongoing contracts with the exception of the JVS contracts, which are to begin November 1st. These are all funded through the Workforce Investment Act under the youth program component.
Okay, this is under the youth program component.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Does the board have questions for Mr. Ogle?
I will so move.
I'll second.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye. Thank you, Bill.
Good job, Bill.
I'd like to approve and enter into contract between the Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services and the Workforce Development Agency for fiscal year 2002 for the purchase of Workforce Investment Act service programs in the amount of $2,501,364, effective retroactive to October 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002.
Mr. Cordez?
Second. There we go.
Okay, thank you. This is to fund these contracts and the operation of the organization over there. Once again, this is a continuation of the changes that we've made over. If you notice the dates from October 1st, that's when we officially got the Workforce Development Agency up and running. So it's only for 3 quarters of this year, and the contract is with Job and Family Services. If there's any questions on that, Mr. Ogle or myself or Ms. Golsky could speak further to it. I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Questions? Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into various contracts between Lorain County Department of Job and Family Services. The first one will be for working for empowerment through community organizing, also known as a WECO Fund Incorporated, PRC funding, fiscal year 2002. Contract is in the amount of $60,000, effective retroactive to October 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002 for the Individual Development Account Program. This program is to provide matching funds for personal savings and provides money management and financial skill training to Ohio Workforce recipients and PRC eligible families whose income is under 150% federal poverty level. And also an amendment number 1 for contract with Job and Family Services and the Diamond Child Preschool Incorporated for the increase in a rate of 5% for child care services. This is effective retroactive to September 1st, 2001 to December 31st, 2001, and we'd authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into contract between the Board of Commissioners and the Workforce Institute of Lorain County in St. Hilary, Ohio, for operations and services of the Employment Network of Lorain County One-Stop System. Contract is in the sum of $1,305,522, effective retroactive to July 1st, 2001 through June 30th, 2002.
Also move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
And this is, again, a component of what we have just already authorized in various forms.
Yes, this is just a housekeeping. We need to get that contract into place. They're already providing these services, so merely a housekeeping issue until we look at these more in the spring.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Commissioner Blair, you want to stop for 11 o'clock?
Yes, at 11 o'clock, we had a presentation from Roman Waslin from the National Highway Fatality Marker Program. Would you come to the microphone, please?
Good morning. I hope that everyone got copies as far as the commissioners of what we're proposing to do. We're here today, that's part of it, yes. Is to ask for your endorsement and support to pilot a program in Lorain County which marks the sites of fatal automobile accidents. And with that, we have asked the county engineer's office, and I see John's here today. Hi, John. And also, we have, they've endorsed it or supported it as a pilot program. We also have Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which have endorsed it, and we're working with the Elyria post of the Highway Patrol to compile data and information to locate previous sites of fatalities and map this out so that we have a better idea of where these accidents are occurring, where fatalities occur, and hopefully bring about more public awareness. What happens, unfortunately, is after an accident occurs and the oil stains dry up and are cleaned up, people forget that a fatality occurred at that location. And we go along driving with our usual habits. Hopefully, by, and maybe simply by putting a marker where it's a daily reminder for commuters that drive down streets and roads that they should do a check, if you will, a head check, to see if they're driving within the speed limit, have their seatbelt on. If they're following too closely, it may remind them maybe of a personal situation where they've lost a friend or a loved one in an accident, or just give them that second thought before they proceed and drive aggressively. Or, I mean, obviously it's not going to affect 100% of the people the same way, but hopefully it'll change the perception, if you will, of some drivers to really be more cautious. And the Turnpike Commission as well has invited us over the November 13th, 14th, and 15th to participate with the Highway Patrol and with other organizations in passing out literature and leaflets at 3 locations along the Turnpike to bring about, again, public awareness of what's going on in the roadways and introduce our program. It is, since we've talked the last time, Ms. Vacy picked up a little bit of steam, and we hope that officially to announce it at the state level January of 2002.
Let me know if I can help you.
Yes. And I did make enough copies for everyone, but there's more information here. If you don't have it, I'd be glad to share it with you. And one of the other things that I'd like to say, we're not asking for any funds. This will be privately funded. If we do apply for grants in the future, that'll be something that if we go statewide. And on a pilot program basis, I would like to ask that your support be given for at least 1 year to see how the project works out, or possibly 2 years. This is not a carte blanche approval for anything that we do. We have to work with the county engineer's office to make sure that our signs meet the specs required by the Department of Transportation and also by the Ohio Department of Transportation. So we'll make sure that they're placed appropriately so that they're not a nuisance. They will not be every 10 feet. We'll try to compress them so that if there are multiple fatalities in a stretch of highway, that they're not cropping up like Christmas trees down the road. And also, one of the issues is identifying stretches of roads that may have a propensity to a high volume of accidents. And that's something that Mr. Hamilton has said that we're going to hold off on right now, but that's something that we're going to try to work on. So if you're driving down a particular stretch of road, and especially for out-of-towners who may not be familiar with the roadways, to give them a heads up of what's happening down the road. And again, I have a sample here, and I hope that you have one up there that'll show that for the next 5 miles of roadway, there have been 10 accidents, resulting in 3 fatalities. So maybe, again, to bring about that public awareness to slow them down. Because obviously the police and law enforcement can't be everywhere all the time, and people, the drivers, have to be more responsible. I'm open to questions, and I don't mean to tie you up too long, but
And this is what
that's
you're
a sample.
proposing?
The material right there is strictly just for, if you will, mock-up, so that there is
Okay.
something to actually physically see. The material that we will be using is a hardened aluminum with reflective material behind it, so that you'll be able to see it at night.
Very good. And your intention is to place these in conjunction with the county engineer's office so that they will make sure that you are in compliance with the state code?
Yes.
And I see Mr. Hamilton is shaking his head yes. Okay.
I will move to support this, and I think it's a great idea. And when you're ready to go to the state, let me know, and we'll bring it before the CCAO and the
Thank you.
Board of Commissioners
I appreciate
for the
it.
state of Ohio.
And based on your presentation this morning and the letter from the engineer's office, I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, go back to item number 20.
Okay.
Need to authorize payment from the county's ditch maintenance funds, the cost of mowing along the following ditches based on a 2-year study from 1999 and 2000. The Gessner Waterway, which is in Rochester Township, 1.5 hours at $25 per hour, equals $37.50, and for 2 years that equals $75. Dudley Ditch in New Russia Township, 3 hours at $25 per hour, equals $75, and for 2 years that'd be $150. And Law Road Detention Basin is in Grafton Township, 1.5 hours at $25 per hour, is $37.50 for 1999. And for the year 2000, the property owner on Law Road is mowing part of this with his own property. That's for 1 hour at $25 an hour, equals $25, and the total for the Law Road Detention Basin, $62.50. Grand total for all the amounts is $287.50. This mowing will help keep brush and trees from growing back and blocking drainage projects. The county engineer is requesting permission to add new drainage projects as they are added to the maintenance program and to their mowing program.
John, do you want to comment on this request?
Yes, 2 years ago, Jim Place was down and asked for permission for the county to do the mowing on some of these so that we can keep the cost down quite a bit by using our own guys. And this is the results of it as far as the billing. The last paragraph, I guess the only one I really wanted to comment on, as we add these detention basins and some of the ditch cleaning projects that are being done with the county money, we'd like to have the availability to keep doing this with them. I didn't know if you wanted to just pass a general resolution, we could do that, or if you wanted us to approach you individually on each one, that we can give you an estimate of cost on the mowing as they come along, or just blanket permission to do it and bill the account for it.
I think it would be much more efficient if we had a general policy. If in fact this is what we want to do, it should be part of our policy so you don't have to come back each time and ask for it.
Yeah, it'd be better than bothering me each time we have a ditch come up.
Well, it's more efficient too, so.
Get the job done faster.
All right. I'll move
Yep.
for approval,
Second.
including the request to add new drainage projects.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye?
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you,
Do we
John.
want to change the policy too, or is
I think we did.
that what we just
Yeah.
did?
That's okay with you?
It just says, oh, okay, this is the add new. I didn't know if we had to do anything for the past or not.
Do we have past, or does this encompass all that we have to date?
That's what I was wondering.
We added that, the one in Wellington there that was cleaned with the county money. And we would like to mow that.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Trying
all
to
I
think
was
how to
wondering.
word that.
So I guess the Commissioner Moore is asking, there are old projects that need to be included in this.
There's only the one that's, we did in Wellington there,
Okay.
on Jones Road east of Holly, Burge Ditch.
All right.
We could add the Burge Ditch and any future ones that would cover it.
Okay.
So you're amending your motion? to
Yes,
include
I'll
those?
amend my motion to include the Wellington project as outlined.
I'll second the amendment.
Okay.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Thank you for the question. Okay.
Anytime.
Keep track of this. Item 21.
Okay, authorize the release and payment of retainage to R.A. Joseph Construction of of Avon, Ohio, in the amount of $1,138 for work performed on the Oberlin Work Activity Center project. The contract is complete, and the contractor has submitted the necessary paperwork. The Board of Mental Retardation and Developmental Disabilities has approved this release.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
To support a supplemental assistance for Brownfield Assessment Demonstration Pilot Grant application in the amount of $150,000 for the former Tappan Industrial Site in the city of Elyria, Ohio. The county has recently completed a 2-year-long review and update to its countywide comprehensive land use plan. This plan identified the need to clean up and redevelopment of brownfield sites such as the former Tappan site, which continues to have an adverse effect on the neighborhood property values. It remains unsafe and unhealthy and a danger to area residents. The city of Elyria owns the property and continues to work diligently to correct this blighted condition through a previous $200,000 grant award from the EPA for this site investigation.
So moved.
Second.
There won't be any general fund money involved in this, will there?
Not part of the request.
No, Commissioner.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to advertise for bids for Job and Family Services outdoor advertising billboards for their Medicaid outreach program and for automobile insurance for low-income families. I'd like to publish the notice in the Chronicle Telegram and Morning Journal on November 5th and 12th, 2001. Bids to be open on November 19th, 2001 at 2 p.m. in the Commissioner's Back Conference Room.
Mrs. Skolsky, would you like to comment on this?
No, I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
I also move.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye. Thank you, Mrs. Skolsky.
Comments, Mr. Cortez?
I'm not sure I can follow that.
It's self-explanatory.
One comment this morning. Yesterday I had the opportunity to attend a small rally in the city of Lorain for the schools. As you know, several school districts in Lorain County have large bond issues on the ballot this election period. While I'm not suggesting whether those things be supported or not supported, I'd like to indicate that if successful, most of these school districts will gain a significant advantage in funding to replace obsolete schools in their district. The state is offering a 4-to-1 match on monies, so for every dollar that is bonded locally, $4 will come to the state to improve that school district. And I'd like to encourage people to turn out and make sure they vote. It's coming up next week. It's important to our community. Our kids are our future, and without our kids, we don't have much of a future. And I will leave that for the board if you'd like to further those comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. As you mentioned, the governor was here in 3 different school districts. You were in Lorain, he was also in Elyria, and I was at Midview. I was able to attend Midview's, and it was pretty neat. The kids gave the governor a jersey with the issue number of their ballot on it, and I thought, I guess he got 3 of them. But it was a nice effort put forth to raise community awareness. So you're absolutely correct. And it was nice that the governor took the time to visit Lorain County. Before we go to the assistant prosecutor, we have a note here, and I'm sorry, Mr. Schrader, that you even had to ask this. We are not meeting next week, and we have a continued annexation hearing next week that we need to reschedule, and both of the attorneys representing that issue are present. So do you have a preference when we have this continuation?
Garrett and I talked a little bit about it, and Garrett had, I guess, rescheduled something else from there. The only times we have that both of us are available would be Thursday, December 27, or February 7 or February 28. So I don't know, I don't particularly want to do it Christmas week.
Thank you. I don't think we want to either.
Is February 7 okay then?
Madam
I don't have
Clerk?
my book for next year out here yet, but probably. I don't think we've booked into February yet.
Well, then, why don't you go ahead and do it tentatively, and if there's an issue, we'll get back to the parties involved.
Okay, would you prefer the 27th or the 28th?
Well, it's either the 7th or the 28th, and I don't think either of us have much preference. We can both do it those days. The 7th of February or the 28th of February, it's entirely up to you.
Why don't we, well...
7th sounds great.
All right.
Okay, 7th at 10:30, is that correct?
Is that what time you were scheduled for next? Okay, then let's keep at least that consistency.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, I move that we continue which annexation hearing
The
is it?
Albert?
Albert annexation hearing, which was scheduled for next Thursday, the 8th of November, to February 7th, 2002. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and happy birthday.
Thanks.
Commissioner, I would mention we are going to have someone here available at that time hearing in case someone from the general public shows up, because we have announced, as far as our formal resolution and minutes of that meeting when there were persons present, that hearing was going to be conducted, and we continued it to that date. So anyone that was here on that date may show up on that date. So we have to make sure that we have someone available so that if anybody comes on that date, they can be advised of when the new hearing date is.
Mr. Murray, you had a question or comment?
I just had a thought that I think Carlisle has their first meeting, first Monday of the month. Is that correct, Betty?
First and third Mondays.
And so maybe at their meeting, the next meeting, which would be before the scheduled hearing on the Albert matter, perhaps they could make that announcement.
And Linda, can you take care of that for us? Thank you very much. And then in addition, do we have a sign-in sheet in the back or not, Mrs. Blair? You could look at the sign-in sheet for that date, and if there was anyone there, you could maybe give them a call if you could determine who they were to negate having to, I mean, not to do away with it completely, but to try to alleviate that.
We will make sure that somebody's here at the scheduled time for the hearing to alert any people that are coming in for the annexation of the revised date and time.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Ennis, do you have a report?
I do wish to have an executive session with the commissioners. However, it is not regarding contract negotiations. It's regarding pending litigation issues.
Okay, so the item should read regarding pending litigation.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Commissioner report?
Commissioner Vacy?
Yes. Since I wasn't here last week and the week before, there's some issues that I just either want to bring to our attention or discuss. The bicentennial events. Jim, we talked about you doing something with getting a committee together or finding out if the Historical Society was going to handle that for the county. Or
Yes, I haven't moved forward with that issue yet, Commissioner. I do have it on my docket, and if you want to fast track it, I'll get to it early next week, and when you return, I'll try to have some information for you.
I think just a telephone call to the Historical Society and find out if they're putting something together for the entire community, or if we should put a committee together.
Okay.
They came in here and talked about it. I thought they're going to, I think the issue is, are they just going to use the Historical Society to do the bicentennial or the whole county, right?
Well,
that's what you want to find out?
Right, I understand that we provided them with funding. Let me talk to them, see what plans they have, and I'll report back to the board during our next meeting.
Is it whole county or just
what they're
societies?
Doing.
Okay.
And then I attended the CCAO Taxation Committee, and I found this very interesting. The major topic of conversation out there was an abatement for an incentive program for tourism development projects. And this is something totally new for the state of Ohio, where if a development came in that generated tourism attractions, they would give 2% of whatever sales tax was generated from that development back to the developer. And that's totally new, but Cincinnati brought this up because Kentucky, they feel that Kentucky is taking some of their tourism business across the line because Kentucky does allow this sales tax to be returned to the developer. But when we talked about it, there was a lot of discussion and there was a lot of debate on it and a lot of concern that it would cause some problems. So anyway, the staff at CCAO is going to bring back some more information, and if the committee decides to approve this, it'll go before the board, and then CCAO will bring it before, or try to get someone in legislation to support it. And then that's one of the things I wanted to bring up. And then mental health. This is another problem. Closing mental health hospitals. The Department of Mental Health director is considering closure of 3 or 4 mental health hospitals, and the governor was talking about closing 1. So it looks like we're headed towards closing some hospitals. But what concerns me is throughout the country, what happens is these people that have problems will wind up in our jails, and it seems to me like what the state is doing is, in other words, taking some financial responsibility off the state and putting it on the local level, and these people do not belong in jails. And a lot of them are offenses that are relatively minor, breaches of law related to symptoms of untreated mental illness, such as vagrancy, trespassing, disorderly conduct, alcohol-related charges, or failure to pay a meal. And these are people that are going to wind up in our jails. So I would like for us to send a letter to the governor and our legislators, the House of Representatives. I had a list, and I will give that list to Roxanne if you're in agreement, to send a letter asking them not to close these mental hospitals.
We discussed that at one of the meetings when you were not here, and I believe the footnote was that they would let us know when there were some hearings to be scheduled. I don't believe we've heard anything
No, we
further from
haven't.
them.
I would hope that...
type up a letter and pass it around. I do that for the next meeting.
You want me to?
Right, did you want to do a letter?
I'll be happy to.
Pass it around.
And then unclaimed funds. I found on the internet that the county has some unclaimed funds. We did send some letters out to the different departments for them to research their departments. But I would ask that we look into the general fund departments.
Commissioner?
Yes.
What unclaimed funds?
There's an unclaimed fund area on the internet, and the county does have some money in there. We hired someone at one time, but I believe since then it's not a large amount or large amounts in different areas, but there is money in there.
I believe we
did
sent
that 6 months ago, didn't we do that?
Sandy.
We got like $800 back or something, didn't we? Oh, 2,000? Okay.
Maybe we need to do it again. There may be some.
Maybe something we do every quarter or something.
We can take a look. Okay.
Here's the areas.
That's what I looked at that.
Okay. If you would have your assistant forward that information to Sandy, I'm sure that we can take a look at it again. We did go through a great deal of paperwork within the last few months and pull down all of that was available at that point. So a lot of times this will come in and we don't know it's there. So we'll take care of that for you, Commissioner. No
Okay,
problem.
and search the internet every once in a while. And then the next thing that I wanted to bring up was the railroad crossing. ODOT is granting $1,500 to all jurisdictions requesting the installation of rumble strips.
Mr. Cordez is working on that. There's a letter in there that they sent back.
Right. Okay, but that money can be used for alternatives other than the rumble strips?
Yes, it can, Commissioner.
My thought is, would the board consider forming a task force to promote safer railroad crossings throughout the county, and to advise and to make recommendations to the board of how that $1,500 could be used for safer railroad crossings? Would it be rumble strips or some other type of safeguard?
maybe I can report what our activities are, and then you can dialogue from there. That would be acceptable. When that announcement came out, I spoke with Mr. Carney concerning at what level the county should participate to be able to access those funds, because I did not want Lorain County to lag in this issue. He indicated to me that the county engineer was in the process of doing a comprehensive survey of the at-grade crossings that were lacking in safety devices in the county, and was going to spearhead that project. I'm not sure who has the complete authority, to do that, but I do know that currently the county engineer is undertaking that task, whether out of his own motivation or by some implied authority that he believes he has. I'm not really sure of, but there is some work underway to survey all those at-grade crossings that could benefit from this funding, and to make recommendations. What I could do is ask Mr. Carney to make those recommendations to this board prior to any submission to the state for funding, if you'd like.
Well, who submits to the state? Does the board or does the engineer's office?
I think, the interesting thing about that letter that was sent out, it was sadly lacking in any direction of any specificity that would give the complete authority to an agency or an elected official in the county. It was a generalization. So I'm assuming that whoever sends that paperwork in will be representing the county as a whole. We can obviously partner with the county engineer on this, and I can have him submit the information prior to submitting on behalf of Lorain County, if you like. Or you could head in a different direction. I just wanted to report to you that we were moving the issue so that we didn't lag behind, but there's always different alternatives.
Last year, the NOAC did a study of all the crossings in Lorain County. It was a project of Lorain County Community Alliance, so perhaps there's some information in there that would assist Mr. Carney in this process.
Yes, and I think Mr. Carney worked with NOAC at those at-grade crossings. I remember being at some of the ODOT meetings where all the parties were there. But whatever the pleasure of the board.
Okay, well, you're going to check on it and then let us know what the engineer's doing?
I can let him know that we would like to partner with him and be privy to the information prior to any submission on behalf of Lorain County, if that's suitable to the board.
Okay.
Okay, I have it. Thank you.
And then one other thing is we received an urgent legislative alert from the CCAO in regards to the state budget. CCO is really concerned about the cuts that the state budget is going to make and how it's going to affect the local governments. And they're asking us to send our concerns to our legislators and to lobby them. I think we should. I think we should support CCAO and lobby as hard as we can, and also to send letters and let the legislators know that the county can't handle these cuts.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, I will.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
No discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's
Discussion.
Well, we've been discussing so long, I think the clerk wants to
Well,
go
what
to
kind of letter?
lunch.
What kind of letter are we just talking about? We just said we're going to send a letter. What are we looking at?
We're concerned about the
We're
legislative
just going to
budget
send a letter that we're concerned about the budget cuts?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
I'll say aye to that. Okay.
Well, they did give us a draft resolution expressing concerns about possible cuts in the state budget.
Okay,
And
that's fine,
we
that's
can
fine.
take
We can
off
do
from
that.
that.
Yes,
Okay,
and
that's
I think we need to be real specific, because I'm not sure that they know where they're going yet. I think they're
Okay.
talking about
I
it.
just
and,
made a motion on a letter we're going to send. I'd
Yeah.
like to see these letters.
Yes, okay.
Okay, that's
Well,
all.
you're
Thanks.
gonna-
I said aye, so
Okay.
we're sending a letter.
But, I mean, we'll send the letters across the board so everybody reads them and
Okay.
signs off on it.
Okay.
Okay, that's it?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Moore, do you have anything?
I have twice as much, but I'll wait.
What?
I'm kidding. I have nothing. I'm okay.
Thank you.
How about you?
I don't have anything additional. I just want to put a plug in for the summit, which is being sponsored by the Lorain County Community Alliance, which is tomorrow, Friday, November the 2nd, and it's going to be at Lorain County Community College, starting at 8:30, I think.
8:30.
And
8 o'clock if you want a donut.
8 o'clock if you want a donut. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, I hope it's going to be a very worthwhile presentation, so I encourage anybody who's interested to attend. Thank you.
Can I bounce back with one more thing?
No, no, you've had your turn. No.
Oh, sorry.
No. Save it for 2 weeks.
No, this here's got to be before that, because Howard Reynolds, I asked him to do something in regards to getting someone out here to train our people in bomb threats and all these mail threats that we have. And Howard did. He got someone from the Postal Service, and we will be having a seminar November the 6th, and he sent out a letter to all the departments inviting whoever can come over here. So, pass the word on, please.
And don't forget to vote.
So I think you're encouraging people to attend and encouraging them to vote.
Yep. Okay, there we go.
Thank you. Madam
Thank
Clerk?
you.
Old business?
Nothing here. Oh, I could have came up under new business with that, Betty, see?
I just have a reminder that we will not have any administrative briefing next Tuesday or a board meeting which we already discussed on Thursday due to no quorum. And new business?
I'm here.
And we're going to have an executive session we already discussed. Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
What happened to Mr. Murray?
Deferred.
I think he forgot.
I think they cut it, I mean,
Well, I thought we thought it was going to be withdrawn, but I was just conversing with Mr. Ennis, and we noticed that Mr. Murray had stepped out. We're hoping that he's somewhere close by.
Can I go see if he's out there?
he's gone. He loaded up and left.
Maybe he went to the restroom.
It's not late.
We don't have any official letter, do we, Roxanne, from Mr. Murray about the annexation?
Just that one I gave this morning.
Just the one from the last one, right?
What did, that was the easement agreement, but do we have one from Caruso? What did that letter say?
Yes, I have.
You need to read that letter.
Caruso?
Uh-huh. Please, I'm
That's from
sorry.
Attorney Garrett Murray's office. Dear Commissioners, on behalf of Thomas F. Caruso, agent for petitioner Caruso Enterprises Incorporated, regarding the above annexation, please consider this letter as my client's request to withdraw the petition for annexation of 32 acres from Brownhelm Township to the City of Vermillion. Your cooperation in this matter is greatly appreciated. Very truly yours, Attorney Garrett Murray.
Okay, copies were sent to Vermillion, Brownhelm, and Mr. Caruso, and last week we approved the setting aside of the road right-of-way that they had asked for. So they had that from Vermillion and Brownhelm and us, so this completed the issue. So Jerry, he's asking to have it withdrawn. Do we need to take official action?
I suppose we can have a motion.
So a
It's
motion.
not really necessary, but if you want to make it official.
I'll move to accept the letter withdrawal.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mr. Moore?
Aye.
And again, thank all the people who worked on resolving this issue. All right, we're on to public comment. Mr. Kish? Good morning.
Good morning. 3 minutes.
What do you have there, Bob?
Robert Kish.
Is that your egg timer?
Good morning. Yes, it's 3 minutes though. Good morning to all, especially the 12 members in the audience. I'm down to 11 now, I guess, whatever. I'm the founder of 4Cs, that is the cost-conscious, concerned citizens. I believe that through the active participation, only through the active participation of the Lorain County taxpayers, can effective government be achieved. I'd also like to say welcome back to Mayor Goffrey. There are no dues in this outfit, so please just attend the commissioners' meetings as taxpayers. Last week, I got a little sandbagged. I observed a PowerPoint presentation on computer systems, a cost-cutting effort. I had asked how they were proceeding, and since I had received no feedback, I proceeded to award an acknowledgement of the golden candle to the person that awarded the award, that came up with the suggestion. As I said, there are two ways to shed light, be the candle or the mirror that reflects it. I had asked about the progress. Nothing happened. That's why I proposed the award. Unfortunately, a sandbag can easily put out a candle. I still believe it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. That's maybe why the sunshine laws were intended. With sunshine, you don't need a candle. After viewing some of the commissioners' tapes that I have received, it is evident that a clock in this location, or possibly here, or perhaps behind the commissioners, would be quite useful for somebody who was viewing the tape and was trying to find a time on the tape that correlated to the event. I don't know if that's in your budget or not. Need be, I can get a battery-operated one. However, ask not what you can do for your county, but ask not what your county can do for you, but what you can do for your county. Ben Franklin is back in my wallet. If the Justice Center comes in under budget, Ben will be donated to a Boy Scout troop. To the veterans in the military, the fire, the police, I'd say God bless you. And this also goes to those, and this is from World War II, they also serve, who sit and wait. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Bye.
Kish. I see Mr. Murray has re-entered the meeting. We accepted your letter of withdrawal on the Brownhill Township annexation. So I think that's concluded then? Do you have any other comments for the board? We thought you forgot about it.
I think I had a senior moment.
It wasn't your birthday.
Because I walked out. That does conclude the matter. And we appreciate all the assistance given by the county to correct that matter.
Thank you, Kara. Shirley Johnson.
I don't know how to add to the Golden Candle Award or the sun, applying the sunshine law or even the golden candles is not going to do enough to help us get warm in this room. I suggest that you provide a pile of emergency blankets for those of us who haven't worn enough warm clothes for an occasion like this. Thank you.
It's all Mrs. Blair, the clerk's fault. I mean, we fight about the thermostat every meeting.
I know that, but I didn't want to say anything about her. I think she must be a very warm-blooded person, but the rest of us aren't.
I know, I'm with you.
We just want to keep everybody awake.
We want to keep us awake.
Collectively.
We're trying to freeze you out. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the board this morning? Seeing none, I will move that we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the administrator and our legal counsel.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Moore? Mrs. Gadsden?
Aye.